Whoa, what is going on, everyone? Phil here, and welcome to a special video. As you know, this week was a crazy week for digital presentations for the games industry. Started with Summer Game Fest, which I've already done a full-length live react to, and then I made a video of my recap reactions about that event. However, 4 more big events happened, including an Xbox showcase, Starfield showcase, Ubisoft Forward presentation, and a Capcom showcase. Rather than me do live reacts to all of those, which if I actually had would have taken upwards of 4 or 5 hours, I've decided to do one video that will summarize everything I thought about those shows right now and give you my recap reactions to all of them. Now, this video will absolutely positively not talk about every single thing that happened during those events. But if you're interested in the things that interested me, if you want to know my takes on the things that I thought were the biggest announcements during the shows, that's the purpose of this video. Rather than 5 hours, I'm hoping to get this one done in roughly about a half an hour or so. We'll see how that goes. Thank you for watching. As always, I'm all ears and I want to hear your opinions. What do you think about all the things that were announced during these 4 big events over the weekend? Please let me know in the comments, all right? Without further ado, let's get started. Let's start with the Xbox showcase that happened. And I have in front of me the listing of like all of the games that were actually talked about and announced during this showcase. Now, first of all, I'm just going to tell you, we're going to skip Starfield because I'm going to have a whole segment talking about Starfield myself after the end of the Xbox event here. So therefore, there's no reason for me to talk about Starfield. I'll talk about that at length in a moment. But kind of going through each game that was presented. First of all, Forza Motorsport. Sadly, I'm not a sim-style racing guy. I don't really care about Gran Turismo or Forza Motorsport. If this was Forza Horizon, I'd be more interested in the arcadey open world aspect and the silly things you can do in it. It doesn't appeal to me. It looks good. I know it has massive amounts of accessibility thanks to Super Blind Man's involvement. However, I am not interested, and therefore I really have nothing to say about it. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. All right? Here's the thing. I'm excited for it. I actually really liked Hellblade 1, Senua's Sacrifice. It blew me away. I didn't think it was going to be that good, and when it came out from a relatively, smaller group of game devs, Ninja Theory and everyone doing this game, I really loved it. The graphics were great, the gameplay was interesting, the story was confusing, but riveting. This game's been in development for many years. They proceeded to show no gameplay again, and I will say this. I'm upset that they want to announce and or promote games, but to this day, they don't realize that we want to see the game. I don't want to see a cutscene from the game, which is literally what they did. They selected a random cutscene from this game, played it for like 4 minutes, and that was it. Well, guess what? That didn't help me at all to know what this game is, nor did it really give me any information about exactly when it's coming out. No solid release date. So with that, I was just kind of like, not interested. When you give me more information that's concrete, then I'll be interested. Right now, I'm not going to even worry about the sequel. I hope it's good, but you didn't present anything of substance, so it kind of was a waste of time in my opinion. Fable. You want to talk about a waste of time? Fable presented a 3 to 4 minute long story-based trailer where essentially a hero who was a female heroine climbed a beanstalk, and basically this is supposed to be a classic retelling of Jack and the Beanstalk with British humor. So the giant at the top of the beanstalk is actually like a nerdy looking black guy who's a farmer who literally is talking about, those heroes and all their combat and violence. It's all about, I'm a farmer, I'm non-violent, I'm trying to solve the world's food problems. But then this tiny heroine shows up, and it shows them kind of like chasing and fighting each other. And at the end, apparently she beat him because it shows his broken glasses, and that's the end. So what exactly did we just see? Did this have anything to do with the game? Well, there was no gameplay. It was just a cinematic, as if we were watching an animated movie. Does it have anything to do with the game, or is it just an example of what the game will be? I don't know. Literally a waste of time. I understand you're making a new Fable game. You could have just said Fable now in development, instead of showing me a 3-minute, 4-minute story trailer that we have no idea how this ties into the game. So, again, I hate to say it, when they're going into showing off these games and all they're showing are cinematics or story-based elements and not showing you the game, I feel like it's a waste of time. Sadly, that felt like a waste of time to me. Okay? Avowed. This is the new RPG coming from Obsidian. A lot of people have crapped on this game. I don't know why. I think it looks good. Sure, it's a little bit on the cartoony side when it comes to the graphics, but it looks like all the things that make a great Obsidian game, but instead of it being like Fallout, like New Vegas, it's kind of like their version of Skyrim. I dug it. I like the idea. It's a fantasy world, but everything's getting corrupted, and so there's new demons and you know, corrupted versions of animals and things you'll be fighting. It looked colorful, which I liked. You know, compare that to Skyrim, that's not colorful at all and kind of gritty and realistic. This seems like a more colorful, you know, magical world to be in. And again, if it's made by Obsidian, looks good to me. While a lot of people online are hating on this game, I'm shocked. I don't know what they're hating on. It looked good to me. If you're an Obsidian fan, why would you not have liked that Avowed, you know, I say trailer, but it actually had gameplay in it. It showed you how the game will play, and it looks like Skyrim Plus, which is good. Is it ultra complex? No, but I don't think we're looking for that. We're just looking for a cool, open world Obsidian RPG, which we haven't had one in a long time, right? So that looked good to me. Elder Scrolls Online Necrom, I couldn't care less. I don't play Elder Scrolls Online, so zero interest. Towerborn, I'll be honest with you, there were a few games that all seemed very similar in these presentations. This one did not stand out for me. I don't even remember it, so I'm just going to skip it. Clockwork Revolution definitely reminded me of BioShock Infinite, a steampunk futuristic world that's really a dystopia because there's people in power kind of oppressing the people. I guess the unique mechanic of this game is that there's time manipulation, so you can go back in time and change the past and then go back to the future, or I guess the present, and see how it affected things. But then it doesn't always work, because I guess what happened is this protagonist, who I guess is supposed to be like a, you know, a black woman, goes back in time, changes the past, goes to the present, and she's like, oh my god, I changed it, I made it worse. So kind of interesting. Maybe the plot will be he jumps several times trying to find different elements to save this civilization. Seems alright. It's a first-person game, right? First-person shooter. But at the same time, it's a ways out. Don't know much about it. Looked decent. Could be interesting. So there's a game called Path of the Goddess, and the actual first name is in Japanese. I can't read it, so I don't know what it says. It's some word in Japanese. Here's the thing. So they started showing this game, and graphically it looks beautiful, right? It's like Japanese culture, kind of like, again, feudal times. Think Neo, think Wolong, right? I guess Wolong, I guess you could say, is Chinese, but still, you know what I'm saying? Like that feudal kind of era, beautiful, outdoorsy kind of stuff. But there's yokai demons. So again, kind of like Neo, yokai demons are taking over. And it shows that there's some warriors, but then there's people who are using like magic and stuff to fight them. It's great, but watching this trailer, I couldn't actually tell you exactly how it's going to play. Is it going to be like Neo, like an ultra challenging game? Is it more like a more arcadey action game where it's not as difficult and it's more interesting in regards to like platforming or something? I don't know. It wasn't really explained, nor did they really elaborate. I think they were trying to like show you some fancy visuals. But I'll be honest, after having played recent games like Wolong and Neo, it didn't appeal to me as much. It's kind of like, you're late to the game, Capcom. If you're making this game and you made it like before or at the same time as those, maybe, but we already played games that were kind of like this recently, so it didn't really impress me that much. Maybe as we learn more, it will, but it just didn't blow me away. What did blow me away was the announcement of Metaphor de Fantasio, the new IP, get this, from the makers of Persona. They're actually making a whole new franchise, and this seems to be interesting because it's fantasy-based, but I guess what they're saying is, I guess creatures are trying to invade Earth. They like they're saying that Earth is like paradise, and so fantasy creatures are invading Earth, but then there's like RPG elements that are more fantasy and magic-based. It looked unique, and it was very, of course, very anime-ish because it's you know, the makers of Persona, Atlas. But it looked good to me, and if it has the production value of, say, Persona 5, I think this would be an outstanding RPG. I'm actually happy they're doing something different, because everyone's like Persona. To see that they're actually going to make a different franchise is a good thing in my opinion. South of Midnight, I don't even know what it is. I guess it showed someone playing a guitar and a demon came out of like the bayou or something. I don't really know what it is, so I'm not going to talk about it. Star Wars Outlaws. Not going to go into detail about that now. That was more covered in the Ubisoft conference, but I do have a good amount to say about it. Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty. Okay, so they're tweaking Cyberpunk. They're bringing back Keanu Reeves. They've got Idris Elba as one of the protagonists. It's a new plot line involving a mystery. They've got better gameplay. All that's great. If you want to play it, go ahead. I'm staying out of this one. Why? Cyberpunk was a huge disappointment for me, but not for the same reasons as most other people. I don't like the gameplay elements, nor the world of Cyberpunk. I find the gameplay elements to be kind of trite and tedious and things you've done in other games, and it's not as good in this one. Like, I'd much rather play Deus Ex, I'd much rather play Borderlands than play Cyberpunk. In addition, I find the world of Cyberpunk obnoxiously annoying. I don't want to be in a world where every 5 seconds there's someone saying fuck, 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 or someone is shoving a robot penis in my face, which is pretty much the world of Cyberpunk. And I understand the whole plot is, oh, everything's been over commercialized. That's great, but did you ever figure out if that's fun? To me, it's not. I hated Cyberpunk's world. I thought it was very obnoxious, didn't find anything entertaining about it. And honestly, I feel like if I bought this expansion, I'd probably, just like the main game, enjoy it maybe 20% of the time, and the rest of the time just be like, ugh, it's just more of that shit that I didn't like, so I'm skipping it. If you like Cyberpunk 2077, go for it. Enjoy Phantom, whatever the fuck it's called. I'm not interested in the least. Payday 3. It looks like Payday 1 and 2. It probably is good. If you like that kind of co-op game, I'm not interested. 33 Immortals. Kind of interesting. It looks like Hades almost. But the premise is that there's 33-player co-op where everyone is fighting in these rooms like Hades, but you could have up to 33 players at once. Interesting premise. Don't know how that would be implemented. For me, any game with 33 things going on at once is probably going to be a clustered mess and not very discernible what the hell's going on. But maybe they'll pull it off. Kind of interesting. Maybe it'll be good. Maybe it won't. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Flight Simulator 2024. Wow. This actually was interesting because here's the thing. A few years ago when I got my Xbox Series X, we had the summer of Game Pass. And one of the games I played was Flight Simulator. And even though I wasn't expecting much, man, we played that for what, 2 months, 3 months? And every time that I played it, we had a chill stream where people would pick a new location to fly and tour and find out things. And it was a pretty good experience. It was really great late night streams. Now, this new Flight Simulator not only is going to improve upon the graphics and everything, but also is adding all new things. One of the things that appealed to me is skydiving. Imagine now you can skydive anywhere in the world. What if we wanted to skydive into Paris? What if you wanted to skydive into the Grand Canyon? You can do that in this game, apparently. That's pretty darn cool, in my opinion. Lots of new things added. You know, cargo and VIP missions. I'm not saying that I would do any of those, but it seems like there's a lot of content added to the game. Of course, being that Flight Simulator will be Game Pass is a pretty huge added awesome thing. Looks like it's definitely going to be something that I'd be interested in adding to my repertoire of chill games coming up. There's a Dune tie-in expansion to Flight Simulator that's out already. I mean, I'm not really interested. I didn't even see Dune. I probably will eventually, but not really appealing to me. But if you like Dune, you'll probably like that. If you like Sea of Thieves or you like Secret of Monkey Island, they're doing a collab. And it's really neat because, you know, I've played Monkey Island. And you're essentially now in the world of Monkey Island first person with modern graphics. It's no longer a 2D point-and-click adventure. It's an actual game that you can explore the world of Monkey Island and all the people who are in it and all the locations. Like, they walk right into the bar from Monkey Island, and it's cool because the guy's spinning on the chandelier and everything, and actually Guybrush Threepwood is in it. Hey, you're into Sea of Thieves, and you like Monkey Island. This is a great collab. Now, I don't like Sea of Thieves. I'm not going to play this, but I actually appreciate it. It looks like they put a lot of effort into it. Fallout 76's Atlantic City expansion, I don't give two shits how many expansions they make for Fallout 76. It still sucks. I'm not interested. City Skylines 2 could be good. I've heard great things about City Skylines 1, but I never really got into city sim games like that. Maybe when it comes out, I'll give it a look because it is going to be a Game Pass game. So, looks good. If you like that, it's good news for you. Persona 3 Reloaded confuses me. And here's why it confuses me. I can't figure out if this is a full-on modern remake or all they did was give it a facelift with better graphics, but the gameplay elements will be the same. And here's why I say that. Persona 3 is a great story. Persona 3 has great music. Persona 3 at the time had actually really good graphics. But Persona 3's gameplay is a slog. It is a very monotonous, very outdated, turn-based RPG style game. There is a lot of unfair things in that game. I mean, my God, the final dungeon and final boss are absolutely ridiculously some of the most unfair turn-based RPG stuff I've ever seen. Imagine fighting a final boss for 30 minutes just for the boss to say, random effects on your party. Completely unstoppable. And if the roll of the dice is good, and it doesn't really affect you, you continue on with the fight. And if the roll of the dice is bad, your healer's paralyzed, can't do anything, your other characters are confused or whatever, screwed. Start the fight over. And you could replay it a million times and always get randomized, and sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not. There's people who could beat that game on the first shot and people who could take 27 hours to beat it. The final boss is that random. So what I mean, like, if they add critical quality of life improvements to Persona 3 to make it a more modern game, I think the Reloaded Edition could work well. If it's just a facelift to have modern graphics and new voice acting, but the gameplay elements are identical, I think a lot of people are going to be pissed at that game. So I guess we'll see. Some people have already asked me, will I play it? I don't know. I already played through the original. It was very frustrating. I don't know if I want to play it again. They're also making a Persona 5 Tactics game, and honestly, I'm probably not interested. You know, Persona 5 is a great game, but I don't really feel like going back to that world just to play a tactics version of it. Just being honest. The new Like a Dragon was announced, but everyone was confused because no one knew what the hell it was. It's called Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and the entire trailer is Ichiban, who is the protagonist of Like a Dragon 7, nude on a beach, and it's not in Japan. It looks like it's in America, or I should say the United States. How did Ichiban get to America? Where are his clothes? What is going on? That's all they show. And like I said, I mean, that's kind of funny, but at the same time, honestly, I wish they'd given something more of substance. Why not tell us a little bit about the gameplay elements or whatever? They failed to do that. So, I'm interested. Obviously, I love Like a Dragon. I love Like a Dragon 7 when it went to RPG mode, but I wish that there was more substance here. Overwatch 2, I don't give two fucks. No one else does either. Everyone online is clowning this thing. I guess they announced there's going to be PvE content that they literally had just said there wouldn't be, and now they're charging $15 for it. No one cares. The game is dead. Fuck Overwatch. Still Wakes the Deep. Looks like this is a game where you're in first person, exploring an abandoned or perhaps destroyed oil rig, and it reminds me of like Subnautica, but it also reminds me of like a first-person horror game. Can't really put my finger on exactly what it is. Looks like it could be alright, but it might be one of those games that people also find incredibly boring. Dungeons of Hinterberg. Interesting because it looks like you're realistic, like you're riding a woman riding a bike or whatever, a girl riding a bike, but then all of a sudden she's in a dungeon and she's solving puzzles and she's fighting enemies, but then she's back in town and she's like doing normal stuff again. So maybe the premise is that she's in her town, but somehow she has the ability to see hidden dungeons and creatures or something. Looks like it could be alright. Looks like kind of an indie title. And then there's one called Jusant. I don't know what the fuck that is. I guess I missed it. So, out of the Xbox showcase, alright, there was some good stuff, I would say. I'm definitely interested in Avowed. The Clockwork game looked good. Metaphor looks pretty good. A new game, you know. Star Wars Outlaws I'll talk about, you know, when we get to that. 33 Immortals, maybe. Flight Simulator 2024 looks pretty good. A few things there. And, of course, Like a Dragon. A few things there look interesting to me. Now, let's talk about Starfield. My God, what an improvement from what they showed last year, which was a joke. Like, last year's presentation of Starfield, nothing was impressive. The game looked poor. Didn't look unique at all. It looked like it was a combination of Fallout and No Man's Sky taped together. I am happy to say this very lengthy Starfield presentation showed a lot more than that. The graphics look a lot better. The gameplay looks better. All right. They talked about so much stuff in this. I mean, it would be hard for me to cover it all. You know, 1,000 worlds. That was the key thing everyone took out of this thing. There's 1,000 worlds to explore. That sounds like bullshit to me. What I think it is, there's 1,000 places you can land or go to, but likely 900 of them are empty. You understand? Likely what they're doing is they're counting every single asteroid and every single moon as a world, which they're not. I think that's fake. They should have said, oh, there's like 1,000 interactable environments, but they shouldn't have said 1,000 worlds. That sounds like bullshit. So imagine you go to the solar system, right? Well, what's in there? Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and maybe you can argue the sun, and maybe the human moon. So there's 10 locations, but they'll probably say, oh, there's like 50. What? How could there be 50 in the solar system? Oh, every little moon counts, and every little asteroid counts, because you could actually go to them. Yeah, but is there anything on there? Probably not. A mineable resource. That's it. So I think that's what they're doing. They're doing that old bait and switch where they're going to say way more, and then technically on a technicality later, they'll be like, yeah, well, technically there is, even though, you know, you can't do anything with all of them, right? But anyway, the idea of open galaxy exploration is very interesting. I hope that there's meaningful content, at least in each system. There's a few planets that will have like a town or something to do with missions or the like, and it's not just like fetch quest, repetitive, boring shit, but something unique. That would be nice. Crew members seem interesting, but I would hope that crew members would be more like companions in Fallout, or, you know, like meaningful companions in, say, Skyrim or Elder Scrolls. I don't want them to just be, oh, they're a crew member who they're on your ship and they run your ship and that's it. I want them to be able to go out and have missions with me and have meaningful quests. So I hope that that's the case. It looks like that's what they're going for. Like honestly, of everything that they showed, it looked pretty good. Like now, it's funny because my first thing I said last year was it looks like No Man's Sky, but now you look at it like actually it looks like what No Man's Sky was supposed to be and didn't live up to, and that actually is some pretty big potential. If this actually is what No Man's Sky should have been when it releases, that would be amazing. Now, the one major thing that must be addressed before we move on, 30 frames per second on console. Yeah, a lot of people are groaning, and they interviewed Todd Howard after the presentation. By the way, during the presentation when they showed combat, the combat looked a little wonky. What I mean by that is, it doesn't look like the enemies do much. They're all humanoid. There doesn't seem to be much like in the realm of variety of enemies besides the creatures that attack you on the planets. But it seems like everyone's humanoid. No one's an alien race. It's all humans attacking. But they don't look like they do much. They look pretty stupid. Like they just kind of stand there. Like one guy's like, "Oh, I like to jetpack above them and throw down mines." Why do they not move? And then it shows him jetpacking above, just tossing mines. And they all look up and get blown to bits. It's like, if every enemy in the game is a dunce, it's going to be pretty boring, no? And pretty repetitive and pretty grindy and not very fun. So I hope that's not the case. But when they were fighting, every time they fought, the frame rate dipped in the presentation. And yeah, Todd Howard came out after the presentation and said, listen, we don't want to sacrifice the fidelity. We don't want to sacrifice what we're trying to do with this game, so we're locking it at 30 frames. It's like, hey, Todd, did you watch your own presentation? It didn't even stay at 30 frames. It dipped below. Here's the thing. The game is very ambitious. Looks like with the shipbuilding, the crew, the world exploration, and all of this stuff coming together, it looks like it could be an amazing game. But it may be that they bit off more than they can chew, and maybe they've been a little bit over ambitious. Maybe that's why they can't get this game to run smooth, and that's why they're locking it at 30 frames or lower on console. Personally, as long as the game performs, as long as you can have fun with it, and it's playable, not that every time you fight it chops and now you die a million times because the game's choppy as shit and it's not fun, then I'll be okay with it. But it could be an issue. And I'm very curious. This could be a make or break situation for Bethesda, who've had several underperforming, underwhelming games in a row now. And you don't want to have another Fallout 76 debacle. You want to have a great new IP and a great new game here at launch. So I hope that it lives up to expectations. Personally, I am feeling way more positive after the Starfield presentation. I think they did a good job with as much as they could without revealing too much about the game. And I'm confident, more confident in it, that it's going to be an entertaining game come September. There you go. Now on to Ubisoft Forward. Star Wars Outlaws. Let's talk about that first. Brand new female protagonist. I forgot her name. Is it like Cara Vess or something like that? Reminds me of like a female Han Solo. She's wheeling and dealing. She's a smuggler. She's making deals that, against the law to try to get items in and out. And it shows, the original game opens up with her sneaking around like a hangar full of alien enemies. And it looks like it's a cover-based shooter, but her gun will change properties to do things like break through shields and stuff like that. But there's definitely a stealth element, and there's definitely a element where you control your little assist character, whose name eludes me now. It's a little creature that you can tell to do stuff. Go push a button, go distract an enemy, go attack, and then I'll shoot them from behind when you're attacking and stuff like that. So it's interesting in that regard, but didn't look anything like blew me away combat-wise. No, but what was cool was when all hell broke loose in this hangar that she's in, she has to escape. As she's escaping, she jumps on like a speeder bike and drives away, and she drives right into a town that now she's going right into another mission. She goes, talks to her companion, who's a robot, I guess a droid on her ship, and then she goes into a bar. She makes a deal with someone. The deal goes wrong. Now the Empire wants her. Now they got to escape the planet. She's fighting some enemies. She rushes to the ship. She takes off. Now they're in space, and there's space combat. The Empire's coming after her, and she's flying her ship and shooting the Empire until finally she gets an opportunity to hyperdrive out of there. That looked cool. Right? I don't think we've actually had a Star Wars game like that where you had that level of controllability before. It was funny, though, because someone said, first Star Wars open world game, what about Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga from, like, last year? And as I was thinking about it, I was like, they're actually right. That was open world. It actually was. I mean, not to the extent that this game looks, but it kind of was. So this technically is not the first open world Star Wars game. But anyway, it looks good to me. Now, the one thing that I have to say that's a criticism, why is every Star Wars game these days set in the timeline we know of either the Clone Wars, the prequels, or the 3 movies that are the original trilogy? Why do we not have games that are set in original timelines? For example, Knights of the Old Republic You want to know why that's good? Because it's so early in the timeline, anything can happen. You don't know what's going to happen with who. You don't know who's going to survive, who's going to die. That's cool. In this timeline, for example, likely there's going to be cameo appearances in Star Wars Outlaws. How much you want to bet there's going to be Chewbacca or Darth Vader or someone from mainline Star Wars will show up? I mean, hell, in the trailer they showed Carbonite captured Han Solo. And it's like, I'm so tired of that. Why can't we do something else with Star Wars? Why does it always have to be the same timelines, the same characters? Like, I was just playing Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and there was a big cameo appearance, and I was like, I didn't care. And everyone was like, you don't care that that person showed up in the game? I'm like, no, I'm tired of it. Just do something different and original. This is cool that it looks like it is going for that. Just, you know, I hope it doesn't tie in with the mainstream Star Wars plot. I'd rather have it be its own periphery thing. So anyway, looks good to me. Don't know, it's early on, but looks good to me. Assassin's Creed Mirage, wow. They showed a big, several minute long gameplay example of this. Looks good. Looks like a combination of the classic Assassin's Creed games with more modernized gameplay. Like the Hawk is still in it, but now your Hawk or Eagle can be interrupted, and then you have to actually take out like a sniper, and then once you take out that sniper or lookout, then the bird can fly back in and mark all your targets again. I like that, you know, you take out a target, now you gotta run, you're on the run trying to escape and get to the safe house. Looks like old school Assassin's Creed. Looks good. I'm actually feeling very confident about this game, that it's going to be a pretty good one when it comes out in the fall. So, Assassin's Creed, codename Jade. The first ever major Assassin's Creed mobile game, open world, set in China. It's going to be a mobile game, so it's probably completely worthless moot point, but if you're interested in Assassin's Creed mobile game, go for it. Assassin's Creed Nexus looks absolutely terrible. They didn't even show any real gameplay. It's basically a VR version of Assassin's Creed made for the Meta Quest. Do you know anyone who owns the Meta Quest? How many rich people own that shit, right? So they're making a game for like 20 people to play. It says you can play as Ezio, Cassandra, or Connor. And it's like, great, but then they show this gameplay, and it looks insanely good. It's like, there's no way this looks like this on a VR headset. They're so full of shit. And quite frankly, can you imagine trying to be an assassin in a VR headset? You're probably going to be barfing every 5 seconds. So, don't care about VR. The Crew Motorfest. This was hilarious. So, the Crew 2, they're finally moving on from it to do something different. The new thing called the Crew Motorfest is literally, I'm not exaggerating, 1,000,000% a carbon copy of Forza Horizon. Motorfest means a festival. Their festival's set in Hawaii. You know how every time they do Forza Horizon, it's the Horizon Festival, and it's set in different locations like Mexico or the UK or wherever the latest one is. It's the same premise. There's a festival going on. There's mini events going on. There's classes of cars that can race against each other. It's the same game. It looks like they literally lifted the whole idea from Forza and said, it's ours now, the Crew Motorfest. Hey, you like that kind of stuff, you'll probably like it, but I do feel like it was kind of cheap that they stole the idea. The Division Resurgence. It's hilarious because they show this and everyone's like, oh, The Division is getting new content. No, it's a mobile game. But you don't know that. They show this big cinematic trailer. You're like, oh, it could be interesting. No, it's a mobile game. Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. Looks really good. But I gotta say, they waste your time by showing a 2 to 3 minute long cinematic trailer that's not the game. It's literally crazy graphics, you know, it looks cartoony, cinematic, stylish, kind of looks like almost like the Spider-Verse movies. Then they go, oh, here's the game. It's a more traditional 2D adventure where it plays almost like the original Prince of Persia games, but it's now with time manipulation mechanics. Looks good. Like, it looks solid. It looks really good. The combat looks interesting and exciting. The graphics look good for what it is, and the time manipulation looks fun. So, to me, this looks like a pretty good game. It's hilarious that this is actually the game they're coming out with, rather than the Prince of Persia remake that they said they were coming out with like 2 or 3 years ago, and it keeps getting delayed, and there's no update about that. But now this is coming out. But looks good to me, and that comes out in January, actually. I would say the most shocking thing about Ubisoft Forward was the Avatar game, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, which is basically like Far Cry 7. It's literally Far Cry in Pandora. The graphics look stunningly good. It's a good premise because you can ride creatures, like you can have your aerial creature, you could have the ground creature that you can ride around Pandora. You've got hand-to-hand combat, you've got guns that you were trained by the humans to use, but you've also got bow and arrow a la Far Cry. The gameplay looks very similar to Far Cry, where you'll be taking over these human encampments and bases, and then you could climb a tower. Oh, you know, you took it over, just like in Far Cry. So if you like Far Cry, and you like Avatar, this game actually looks really good. I was blown away. I thought it was going to be some crappy third-person action game. It actually looks like they put some effort combining their engine from Far Cry and trying to make a viable Avatar game out of it. I actually enjoyed it. I thought it might be good. So that comes out in December. I think it's December 7th, and that might actually be on my calendar now because it actually looked significantly good to me. X Defiant looks like shit. It's some kind of a stupid, team-based shooter online. They show a bunch of fucking streamers playing it. No one gives a fuck. Looks terrible, just like all these other co-op shooters. I don't like it. Probably a waste of my time, and I'm never going to play it. And Just Dance 2024, nobody cares. So Ubisoft Forward, Star Wars Outlaws looks great. Assassin's Creed Mirage looks great. The Prince of Persia game looks good, and the Avatar game looks good. I thought it was a good presentation. And now we move on to the final one, Capcom, okay? The Capcom Showcase. And sadly, I hate to say it, Capcom Showcase was incredibly deflating. A lot of people saying they shouldn't even had a showcase. I kind of agree. Here's what they had. So that Kunitsu Gami, Path of the Goddess game, they just showed the same exact trailer they had showed during the Xbox event again. And it doesn't look riveting or anything. Again, it just kind of looks like it's going to be a game set in feudal Japan with yokai you fight, but it's not clear what it is yet. Street Fighter 6 and Resident Evil 4 VR versions. I don't care. Pragmata, a game that we don't know what it is. It just shows some guy in a like a robot suit, fighting a bunch of robots in what looks like a training room or a danger room style setting. And then the girl is sitting on the floor doing something. We don't even know what. A little girl. And then he picks her up, and they run out of the room, and then they announce the game's delayed. It was supposed to come out last year, then this year. It's still delayed till next year. They don't really know when yet. And that's it. You have no idea what the game actually is. You have no idea what the gameplay elements will be. It's just delayed again. Gee, thanks. That was a real good use of my time. You couldn't have just said it was delayed again. You had to show us this with no gameplay. Ghost Trick Phantom Detective is getting a remake. This is a game that was a a portable handheld game. I think it was on like the Nintendo 3DS over a decade ago, and now it's getting a modern remake on consoles. It's from the maker of Phoenix Wright. If you like that kind of investigation detective mystery with some quirky humor, you'll probably like it. It's probably not my cup of tea, but it was cool that it's getting a remake. Also, Apollo Justice is getting an Ace Attorney trilogy remastered on console, so no more just relying on the handhelds. Again, you can play them on a modern console with upgraded HD graphics. 3 Apollo Justice / Ace Attorney games coming out soon. Exo Primal, they showed a lot, and they're showing different various game modes. I'll be honest, the game doesn't look half bad at all if you're okay with just killing endless waves of dinosaurs, which is essentially what it is. People who played the beta a few months ago were like, yeah, that's what it is. And it can be addictive and fun, but understand that's it. Now, they're showing that there's going to be an elaborate story to this game, in addition to the combat that you're going to be doing. So, hey, it comes out in July. May or may not be good. Not blowing me away. But it's at least something original and different from Capcom. I guess the question is, will it be the addictive hit of the summer, or will it flop and fall on its face? I'm not sure. Looks okay. And then the big thing of the show was Dragon's Dogma 2, which finally they've shown gameplay of. It looks like Dragon's Dogma way better. Like, interesting new elements. Like, you can destroy the environments, like the bridges or the ground around you to create a situation where monsters will fall. They basically said that those pawns, which are the AI-controlled teammates, are now much better. They're more unique. There's a new race that kind of looks like the Khajiit from Elder Scrolls in it. And, all kinds of stuff. And it looks good. It does look good to me. I'm happy they're making another Dragon's Dogma. They say it's 4 times bigger than the original, which is neat. I personally really liked Dragon's Dogma when I played it years ago. Although at this point, it's over a decade-old playthrough, so it's kind of hard to say, hey, go watch it, when back then my quality was so shit. But it was a really good one for me at the time. A unique take on RPG stuff because it's action-based, where you can jump and scale the enemies and stab them in their weak points to take them down and do fun stuff like that. But no release date whatsoever, meaning this thing is not even close to coming out. So the best thing out of their presentation was definitely Dragon's Dogma 2, and it didn't have any information whatsoever on when the damn thing's coming out. So overall, some good stuff. I would say the Xbox presentation was pretty darn good, with a few good games being shown. Starfield is looking up, looking really positively good. I just hope that it holds to that and doesn't crumble and fall apart at some point because of the frame rate and these issues, because they couldn't get it to perform well on consoles, I guess. But overall, looks like it could be a pretty darn good game. Oh, by the way, I forgot to remind or say the adoring fan from Oblivion that I just finished playing is in this game. They actually brought him back as a space guy, and he's the same voice actor and everything. It's pretty darn funny. So Starfield looks good. And Ubisoft, some good stuff from Ubisoft, including the Star Wars Outlaws game. Assassin's Creed Mirage is looking good. A new Prince of Persia game. This Avatar game actually looks good, and it's coming out in December. And Capcom kind of fell on its face, although I'm excited for Dragon's Dogma 2. It's so far out, it's kind of hard to get hyped for the game, and everything else was just a waste of time. So, a mixed bag, but some good stuff overall. And I recommend, if any of that stuff sounded good to you, go watch the trailers. Go watch the full, Starfield video, for example. You'll probably enjoy it. I'm just trying to summarize this in a nutshell for you guys so you don't have to go watch 5 hours of bloated content. And I hope that you liked the video. Again, if you did, if you liked my opinions or didn't, leave a comment. Let me know. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What did you think about this video? Did you like the fact that I summarized everything in this manner rather than kind of spent 5+ hours watching the raw stuff? I think this made more sense because we didn't sacrifice all that time streaming this week, right? So thanks everyone for watching my recap reactions for all this special stuff here. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon. Peace out.